This is Gerald Johan van Waas, the educational channel in support of the book Sound in Form, of which the development of the word is the first part and the theoretical part slightly extended compared to the book, which is volume 1 and 2. The system that is expressed in it is a system with which to understand all letter combinations in words. There's a method with which you can change them into forms so that you can understand them better. This is not the real essence of all of it. The essence is that every letter is a specific orientation in time and space. You can change it into an interpretation. It's a way of interpretation that helps you and guides you. It makes it more easy to understand it. But it's not the essence. The sound in form, underneath the sound in form, is not sound in form is not the essence. Underneath it is the essence of an orientation of each specific letter that directs you in a certain direction, and the combinations of the direction puts you into the right combinations of orientations, and you know what the letter is about. And that's the most difficult thing to achieve, to go to that essence. On the other hand, everybody knows that essence unconsciously, because we deal with this system as a system of combining these directions and knowing in which direction our mind has to go, because everybody understands the clicks, recognize the vocals, and we imagine unconsciously something with it. So it gives us certain alertness, certain levels of alertness, and these combinations of alertness are actually also descriptions of words. And I found out how it works. The system has different layers of understanding it. The basics, the two basics that are most important, will be explained in this video as well. I will have two of these layers, how to interpret it, and I will combine them also so that you can see what the essence is about. I will take two words which are Dutch words, because I thought like this gives a first certain difficulty to interpret if you don't do it correctly. And I will take the words of KAAS and KAAL, or cheese and bold, or barren it is as well. Why? Because as you could see in the last video, the K is breaking apart the things in different elements. Combining them with something else is difficult because it's already breaking apart. That's difficult. Anyhow, I will tell you how to do so in the next video, and because then you can also do this if you really know the essence. What is the essence of distinction? Then if you have a good idea of the distinction, you know how to break the elements down into several parts, and you know how to do so. So I already said in the previous video, just remember the true essence of letters. Try to grasp that. The coordinates of within the letters, not just the literal puzzle. So I gave you some examples how to have a frame, and that makes and this frame is essential with which to recognize the letters and so on, but it's not the essence. As you can see, I already explained with the T, for instance. Yeah, I have this literal puzzle piece there underneath, which I used most of the time. There are rules in it. It is a reference point, and that is, it is correct anyhow. But the real essence underneath is a distinction. And what is the distinction about? It's a distinction between two different elements. As you can see, if you simply would add the T on a circle, it has to adapt as well to what it is. So what do we have in the circle? We have a distinction between, in this case, nothing and a circle. So we will have to put the point of distinction on the circle itself. It's much more easy when we have, for instance, with the n here, we combine n with t, and n is something within an object that is formed there. If we combine it, if we put the t or the distinction between the two objects that are in it, we have the point of difference that we can point exactly in a point. So it is not using the frame, it's using the reference point of knowing where the distinction is. Still you can combine it, but it is a combination of knowing where to put the frames and knowing where to put the connections. Both of them, of course, are important. So if I would like to combine both, so the distinction where I have to add the t, or the form of the features it usually has, I can add them, but the most essential thing of it still is the connection itself, which is based upon the distinction itself. What is it that it will distinct? It will make a distinction between two different objects. Not more than that. That's the essence of T. Same for A. I already also said that A is, you can put it as a connection point, or you can have this frame of, if it's wider, it's larger, you have the horizontal plane, but it's also a distinction. And the circle with the horizontal line and the point in the middle, that's only a guiding frame. But you will have difficulties once you start to combine it with, for instance, the K, which is breaking apart the things. And then how shall I combine this? It will give me difficulties. And ka is also used as a question, like in Japanese, because it's not fixed. We break apart in elements, but we also have to keep the things together. So where shall we add the A after the K? It's difficult. And even with a double A, so we can do that. We can make choices. We can have it. But that's, as a reference point, it's a little bit too little. It gives the question mark here is quite big. So there is also a way to do so that you, for instance, with ka, with a large a, with a longer sound of a, there is a way to combine this in respect to the K without breaking the elements apart and keeping it together at the same time. If you can make it more confusing, as to say, if you have a question and you don't know the answer, that's difficult. Here you have the question, but we can also say where the answers have to lay to be clear, and that's what we can do with the next, which is explained in the next frame. Just when we put the A large enough, we have the full distinction of the differentiation between the elements, and we also have this differentiation that we take the elements apart, but we also have respect to combining them. And by combining them, we take the A with a double A, it is in the large context. The full context of K is not the breaking apart, but also distincting the two different elements, how far away that these elements or answers can lay is a certain range. So the double R has to be large enough to have a full capacity of the breaking apart of the elements and keeping it together. It's a double A, so it's not just the breaking apart, it's also finding the answer. The second R is finding the answer. The answer is in the combination of the breaking apart. We have to have the full perspective on what is breaking apart. So here we have the second center of attention that focuses also on the answer, not just the question. So the K is the question. K with double R will also deal with the answer. So we here connect to the differences in one center alone, and that's the double K with double R. That's how we have to interpret it and deal with all the elements of K, R and another R. So that's the only way to do it correctly. So in that way I can take, of course, all the contradictions together in just one center of attention. That's the R is one center of attention, but the one center of attention, it's not just about breaking the things apart, it's also, because there's a second R, we will also try to find an answer. So all the centers of distinction are again centered once more in this enlarged double A vision. And thanks to this double A, we can also express words with K and the double A, because then it will be clear enough. The distinction between all the elements will have the right distances and we can distinct them quite well, as it is with the two words that we can two of the words that we can make. I have here the word KAAS and I have the word KAAL, or cheese, or bold or barren. I have expressed it here with the S and the L added in the two breaking moments. It would not have worked so well if I would simply have followed the rules of the immediate follow-up connections. It will have nothing but a vague perspective. We don't see what it is. So this was one way to try to find a solution. We have to calculate a little bit, calculate it a bit, because we try to connect the elements that we have. But here, as I said, it's better just to simply connect to all of the elements that we have in the correct way, that we keep the center focus. And the other drawings that I have there, I lose my center focus in the second A. It's a lot of elements that you can see. You have the distinction, you have the question, and you have a lot of answers possible. In KAAL there, or in KAAS, you have a lot of answers possible, but it doesn't hang together anymore. And that's exactly what is needed. KAAL with double R, it's a centered position, and again a centered position of this breaking apart of the centered position once more. So the only good solution is the first one that I have there. And I will explain myself what do we need to work properly and correctly. It is our distinction. And distinction, how does it work? I will explain it with the first three letters. So the essence of truly understanding and having a distinction in our mind, it works a little bit like a pattern recognition. It works in the same way. So we have every next letter in the system is one step further of making a distinction. And here I have the first three letters, and here I can immediately recognize. If you have, for instance, an object, you focus upon an object, and as long as we can keep just one center to look at it, it's connected with the letter A. Even if it has some slight variations, like you see underneath, and you still regard it as being the same center, it's connected with the letter A. And that's everything that is connected with the letter A looks like that and has this focus. But once we notice that there is a difference in there, and it's not just then we cannot keep our centered vision there alone. We also focus, no, there are other elements that appear there, and that's the next letter. We notice the differences, we notice other elements, we notice features. That's all connected with the letter T. That's our way of thinking, that's our way of associating. It's based upon distinction in pattern recognition. If there are even more differences and you see like, oh no, it's just not just an element that comes out, there are two different elements. That's what I notice, is noticing that there are different elements that makes themselves distinctive. That's the letter K. These are the true essences of noticeable distinctions, that our mind deals with it and associates accordingly with these elements. And all these letters have the same underlying coordinations. Let's now compare it with the geometrical association, another layer that I had and that I worked out also in the book. They are, if you don't understand one of these things, you have to, it's best that you connect them. If you don't have a good result, it means that you forgot this aspect of the true distinction, what it does to our mind, what it does to our vision, where our focus lies. If we lose the focus, it will not fit with the letters anymore. But we also have geometrical associations. Let's compare them. The geometrical frames are a little bit different. So you have here the A, the T and the K. The A and the T fit on it very well. You keep the focus on the middle. You're slightly off focus, so they fit very well. The K I will express on my my drawing. And this K keeps a distinction to what is different. So that's why the first example of what we were trying to do, make connections, literally we forgot the essence. The essence is now we keep a correct distance so that we notice that there are differences between two centers. That's what the K is about. Differences between two centers, keep that in mind. Keep this balance there in K with a double A. This balance is still there. The other K that I try to make there, it's no longer clear, so it's getting vague, it's getting blurry. It's no longer the essence what I'm expressing. Even when I was following certain rules of possibilities, because here we already have possibilities in the question without finding the answer. The answer lies again in the distinction. K is also about distinction. So that's our main focus, distinction. Trying to distinct what we have, trying to distinct the elements, the different elements. That's the only way to understand it. So here we have, because we had a connection, we also have in fact the correct way of sizes, of interactive sizes. That's great. So you always also have a balance to make a correct balance, kept balance to keep the connections clear. So we come back to our words, KAAL or bold and barren, and KAAS or cheese. So where is our focus upon the differences, about the distinction? Is there, in fact, there are one of the two distinctions that we have. Let's focus on it, on this area of focus. We focus upon the qualities as a matter of speaking. We focus on which qualities do we have, what can we use of it. This is the question with a practical vision. What can we use of this? This is the question mark, and we focus upon it with K. What can we use of it? And try to distinguish the differences that we notice in this area. We already know from the previous video as well that the L is something that is physically felt, it's sensed, it's noticed. and it is also part of a physical progress. So it is a physical area that is developed further because of the certain volume that is produced in it. We also know from the previous video, here are some connection points. So to whatever it connects to, it will take over its form from where it is. So in the A form, it will simply follow the form further and connect to it further, materializing further its appearance of whatever it has. Now, if we combine the L with the focus of our perception of the pattern recognition, it also has a specific stage of distinction after A, T and K. Here is the L, this is one of the next letters. At that moment when we have the L, this is expressed there. We start. So first, we start to focus on the center, a little bit off center, a bit more off center, and more off center, and every stage we interpret it a little bit different. This is the stage when we start to focus upon the material, where we notice that there is no longer consistency between these two differences. It seems as if these are two different elements. The elements have different features. So we focus a little bit on it as if we are rethinking the material. Probably this is from a different material, it's from a different nature. And so we focus upon the material that is there. Something is materializing or forming itself differently. That's the focus of L, purely seen from the distinction of the pattern recognition. So when we combine both, so we have the connecting points which just follow whatever we have and connect to it. We also notice at the same time differences in material. The material is changing, and at the same time, because it's here with a scene from A, it's also and K. So K is separation. K is separation, making it really different, making really a stage where you have to change something, you have to break up something, you have to find a solution, and yes, exclude some elements, include some other elements. It is a way that something is developing away from our complete vision. So there's always a part when there's a no and another part is yes. So a small part is not what we want. So it is developing further. The K, the question mark, we don't know it at this point, and this we don't know it is developing and connecting further and further and further and further. So it is also almost like a kind of separation from what we want. It's developing even further. So it is quite it sounds quite negative, this KAAL or barren or bold. A lot of things are not going. We cannot fill it in. It's not filled in. It's we don't have the central control of it. It's and we don't know what to do with it. Too much is actually left in the reality with barren or with bold. It's left empty as instead of that it is developing. It's because of these question marks. These question marks become bigger and bigger and bigger. That's a kind of sense that it is something is empty. This is an interpretation, but associations underneath can support that interpretation. So let's see once again from the central point of vision how we look at this situation. So it shows this larger range of what is regarded to be present with a certain distinction, so with a question, and it's actually seen as a problem that it is developing further and further and further, but also further away with more and more questions how it is interconnected. It's the K with the development of L, and that's more or less the way how you have to associate, or how you can associate it. Okay, the second word, KAAS, then. Here also we have the same focus of distinction there. How shall we connect this with the pattern recognition? How shall we combine this with the pattern recognition? How do we see the pattern recognition if I put this method out of my book and see what is there as well? I can see that this area of focus is at its limits. It's the last letter in the system. It says actually in our perceptive that in all the elements that we see, this is at the limits of what we can still grasp. So what will it do to our mind? Our perception will say, okay, we cannot look further or beyond it. Let's just see what effect this will provide to us, what effect it will give to us. This is the reason, because it lies all away from ourselves and it's hardly visible. This is the last element we can still grasp. Just let's see where it will get us. That's more or less the attention field and the association field in our mind when we associate it with the perception of pattern recognition. So this out of reach elements has this kind of focus on your attention, that you simply focus on what will it provide us, what will be the effect on all of the elements that are involved. Again, when we look at it from the center point of vision, which is still there with the double A especially, then we also can see what it will do to us. And from this, I have to read again what I have written here. It's of course, there's also this question mark there, this question mark, and all, which is connected with the S, and sees what is the end effect of this. We have an attention to the end effect and to the interactions there. That's what an S is about. This center point of attention gives attention to, okay, we have no control over the full process, but let's just see where the process leads us to and give it the correct attention. It is also about judgments, of course, and our choices that you can make underneath, because the S is, as I explained before, it's the complete field of interactions that you have in time and space, that if you act and react differently, it will have a different end effect. So we'll try to keep a balance between all the elements, and most of the attention goes to the end result, okay, to the immediate effect that the control has at the end. So with this double A and the K combined, it is of course clear that K is a distinction, is the question, but thanks to the double A, we also have some time to wait before we immediately have an answer, and so on. Thanks to this S, it gives, and the A combined, it gives you the time to give this attention. It's time to develop before it's breaking apart in elements and have some results at the end. So it is the double A helps to give you some room, some space, some interpretation. All these things can happen with the double A in combination with the K. It's this distinction that gives this space in this word. It's very different with a short A, because K in a way is just distinction. It's at the edges. It can also be simply an edge, a border, or limit. Nothing more than that. With a short A, you immediately have, yeah, okay, here I am at the edge of what I can do or can decide. Nothing more. It can be very, very short at this border of distinction. I will express it here. So here I have some time. The A is very large. With a K, with a short one, the A doesn't have to be as big. So the solution here can be something much more simple and physical as well. So this breaking apart can be just like a corner, yeah, simply like that, a border, nothing more than that. That's already enough. With a short A you can do that. With a large A, not, because you give more time, you give more space, you give more center vision. With a short A, it's very short. The K is short, the A is short, so it gives you a very short moment, breaking moment. And a corner or border is also it has a little effect as well. So then you can of course develop words that are physical. It's much more easy. I have here the word KAAS very quickly, which means a cash register. I have a kast, which is a closet. I can build it up from here very easily and interpret it. I didn't work it out well, but you can easily have something a little bit more physical from there. Does that also mean that the word KAAS with a double I is there's no physical association possible? No, of course not. Let's just take a visualization of KAAS or cheese, and I took the first picture that I found on the internet. Here it is. Almost the first picture that I had on the internet, and it expresses KAAS, and it fits actually very well with what I had here in mind and visualized. It's the same thing. Underneath is of course this time framed picture. It's also this decisive K, the decision, the question, what shall I do? How shall I develop it with the S? What will be the end result? All of that is in the cheese, but it's also in the consistency, how it is, how it is developed, and all the results of it are all part of the same process. So there is, of course, so you have this whole feedback process, which gives time to develop, to interact, and so on. So the kind of attention that you give there in that question, to check, and also to check again, check once more, and see if the results are okay, all directed to the results, gives the best effect. And as a last thing, I would say, just imagine that we exaggerate now our vision, or our results a bit, and take out just a slice of cheese, not the whole bowl of cheese. Let's just take out a slice. Shall it still have, and can we still recognize then the letter combination physically? Shall it have the correct physical features? So let's take out a slice, still from the A center. So we take out the slice. What will be the effect? The S, of course, will be featured on it in the same balance of what we have, in the same numerical balance, because there is a certain interaction between these letters. It still is recognizable, and it could give us the question like, how far can you go with this? Is this physical balance also a physical feature that you can calculate? And maybe this balance of also how you can fold it, how large these foldments are, and these features, how far can you go with it in this end product? Can you still recognize this whole process and the physical features as well? How far can we go? This is also a question, of course, but we have to realize that if we have a certain balance in the word with certain letters, up until the last detail that matters, it should be noticed. It should remain relevant. Don't exaggerate with it, of course, that you can even calculate the end of the world with it. But it is quite funny, sometimes slightly coincidental, sometimes slightly suggestive, that you can still have a recognition of all the same kind of balances up until the last detail that still expresses the same word, is something that is quite weird. It's not supernatural or anything like that. It is. I'm not going to talk more about that, but you can exaggerate with it indeed. But it is an influences that you can use and enjoy, and just like a slice of cheese, just take it, taste it, and eat it, swallow it, and enjoy. Cheese is quite great. Thank you, cheese. Thank you, cheese. Thank you, cheese. Thanks again for watching. This was Gerald Johan Vanwas. There's a website too, Gerald Johan. And this YouTube channel you already discovered. And don't forget, last message of today, there is cheese on one hand, but also don't forget the wine. Thanks again. Bye-bye.